Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bears Buddy podcast. So today, Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson both spoke before the media in their quote-unquote exit interviews to end the season. So they talked about a lot of things. Ben Johnson was talking about, he talked about Virginia McCaskey, and then he talked about how the receivers need to improve next year. He also talked about what is it like to build from this year? And the question was answered when Ben Johnson said that there's no building on this year. That year, last year, he already started to refer to it as last year. He said, last year was last year. This year is this year, and we have to start building brick by brick from the ground up. We're going to lose coaches, and he's completely fine with that. And going forward, there's going to be a lot of change with the Bears. There's a lot of difficult decisions. Ryan Poles kind of alluded to that. They asked him about Max Crosby, and he kind of said, you get in trouble when you start to do what people want you to do. So I think that is an indicator. He also kind of talked about Kevin Byard, and the fact that he talked about Kevin Byard and he didn't really name any other names made me feel like we're going after Kevin Byard and we're probably moving away from Jaquan Brisker, maybe CJ Gardner-Johnson. Again, we'll see what the contracts are like, but in most cases, it does feel like Jaquan Brisker might be a little bit too expensive. I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson might be a little bit too expensive. I think that there's a lot of guys here that are going to be too expensive. That being said, there's going to be a lot of guys that want to come here on a cheap contract to prove themselves to the rest of the league, win with a winning team. So that is something new with the Bears. But the biggest piece of news that came out was about Ozzy Trapilo. And it's not really news, but it is what we all thought it was. So I'm going to go ahead and get into that. And that's what this episode today is going to be about. Thank you guys so much if you guys are watching this live. I really appreciate you guys. If you're not already, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know if my opinions are right, because at the end of the day, we're all armchair athletes at the end of the day, and none of us are playing in there. We're not on the 90-man roster, and we're not on the 53-man roster. We're not in that coaching staff, and I'm not even media. I'm just a guy here at home talking about a team that I love. So let's get into it. The Ozzy Trapilo impact. So he tore his patellar tendon. It's a very severe injury. If you don't know, only 55% of athletes that suffer this injury come back from it. And 55% of them only come back at 100%. Now, we have seen Nakobe Dean come back from this. We've seen other people really do okay with this. But the timeline is insane. It's the back half of the year, if not the full season. So it creates an immediate vacancy at left tackle. And you know how Ben Johnson is. From his first interview to today, the tune hasn't changed. He said he wants to win, and he wants to win now. Ryan Poles said he wants to take over the North and not give it back. So I think that both of those guys are on the same page, that we need to act on this because the offensive line is obviously their biggest priority. So we've outlined everybody here. We got Ozzy Trapilo, the projected starter. We got Braxton Jones, the veteran. Kieran Amegadjie, the wild card, who's always injured. And then Theo Benedict, the backup right there behind my head. Ozzy's out. Braxton Jones is on a contract. He's a free agent. I say that we let him walk. He does have the most amount of starts here, but obviously that doesn't mean anything. He struggled with injury the whole 2025 year. We brought him off IR, and we thought that he was going to start left tackle against the Rams. But then we swung over Joe Thuney to left tackle, and then we brought in a guy who had almost, he'd only played one snap the whole year, Jordan McFadden. Media didn't even really know who he was in the locker room. Then you've got Theo Benedict here. I think that we do sign Theo Benedict to a veteran minimum. At this point, Kieran Amegadjie, this whole experience experiment is done. He was left tackle, now he's left guard, and obviously we don't have a need for either left or right guard, knock on wood. Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney, you're not going to dethrone either of those guys. I mean, they're both doing it top of the league. I think Jonah Jackson is the most underrated guy on this line. And Kieran Amagaji, I think that, Ryan Poles has just got to hold on to him until he's done with his rookie contract. Because as you see right here, he was a third-round pick. I mean, he's from Illinois. He's a Illinois guy, Chicagoland area guy. And so you want to keep him around. But I think the best way to go about this is either in free agency. But as you know, left tackle is one of the hardest positions to fill. When you have a good left tackle, you don't want to let them go. So last year we got really lucky with the Chiefs moving off Joe Thuney. We got him for a 4th round. Jonah Jackson for a 7th round. I mean, we were able to work some magic, and last year felt like it was the year of magic. I feel like next year is going to be the year that we have to earn every inch. And while we hopefully aren't the cardiac bears, like Ryan Poles said in that press conference today, hopefully we are the Bears that are solid and continue to be that playmaker and trendsetter in the league. So if we don't get somebody in free agency, which I feel like we should, if we can, on a good contract and kind of save some money here while we wait to see if Ozzy Trapillo comes back, which I don't know if that's Ben Johnson's vibe. I feel like they want to win, and they want to win now, and they want to set the precedent. So with that in mind, I say with the first round pick, with the 25th overall pick in the 2026 draft, the Bears take Kadyn Proctor from Alabama. Now, Kadyn Proctor is the 21 overall prospect out of this draft class. Now, there's a lot of talent at different positions that I think he could fall all the way up to us at 25. And if he does, he's the guy that we go for. I do believe, based off of what I saw, he's the number 1 left tackle in this year's draft. He's 6'7", 365 pounds. He's a little bit shorter than Ozzy Trapillo, but he looks to be more stout. He looks to be more of an athlete, and he could really anchor himself down. He's a perfect fit for Ben Johnson's aggressive offense scheme. He's a really good pass protector and a run defender. He leans more to pass. He's also that cost-effective alternative, because if you could draft somebody, you could have him just like we have Darnell Wright right now, a second-team All-Pro lineman who we don't have to pay until the end of next year. He's a cost-effective alternative to an expensive free agent tackle, and I think that, that's ultimately the position that we should be in. Now, if you're looking at me like, buddy, you don't know anything, and that's fine. That's how we talk to each other. That's how us fans talk. What I want you to think about is I'm right there with you. And I don't want to draft somebody in the late 2nd round as a left tackle. I think that there's a lot more depth in this draft at defensive end and defensive tackle. That being said, my number 1 pick for defensive tackle or defensive end is our guy, Caden McDonald. I did all this research on him, and I thought that this was going to be a no-brainer. But obviously, that's not how the NFL works. The not-for-long league. This is the guy that I want. I want Caden McDonald from Ohio State. He's 6'3", 326 pounds, and he can move. This guy is an absolute monster in the middle. He's a nose tackle. He's the 0, the 1 tech power needed to really allow this defensive line to get home to the quarterback. I think that Grady Jarrett, Montez Sweat, and Austin Booker all benefit from this guy. Grady Jarrett with a guy like Caden McDonald, you are going to get your money's worth out of Grady Jarrett if you could draft a guy like this. I think that a guy like this is very special. His talent level should not be 25, but that just goes to show you how deep this draft is with defensive tackles and defensive ends. His elite strength and surprising first step explosiveness. I mean, I cannot wait to see what this guy runs at the combine. If he runs under a 5, I would not be surprised. And I'm not like, no bullshit, like I swear to you, this guy's first step really does look like that. And he's a huge individual. 6'3", 326 pounds. He is that Andrew Billings build, a little bit smaller, but he can move. If you remember in that 49ers game, when Brock Purdy just made Andrew Billings look like he was on skates, it was embarrassing. A guy like Caden McDonald could just annihilate Brock Purdy out in the open field. He logged 65 tackles and 9 tackles for loss at Ohio State, proving to be one of the best interior run stuffers in the entire country. And when I say that, there's another guy from Clemson. There's a couple of other guys around the league. This is what we need. We need this guy to anchor the defensive line and to stop that run game so that people think about going out to the outside. Now you got a third-year Austin Booker. You got a Montez Sweat that's waiting for some help. I know that if he gets a help like this, he's looking at double-digit sacks again, and maybe he's good from week 1. That's a wrap on that. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're not already, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great day.